Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kay. Today my video is going to be about the most disappointing / mediocre reads of the year. I don't have a large list of like the worst books, like 1 and 2 star books that I feel like I can talk about in a video. So instead I'm going to do a disappointing books type of video, and also a lot of these tend to have been very kind of middle of the road. 3 stars, just kind of nothing. Later on I'm going to be doing a DNF video. I wasn't even able to get through all of them, so I guess that makes them the worst. There are 27, I DNF a lot, so that's why I don't have a lot of 1 and 2 stars. If I'm not enjoying a book, I just DNF it. So, that'll be coming up shortly. Right now, disappointing, mediocre, not great books. They're basically just in order of star ratings, 1 star up to a 4-star book that's on here. Other than that, they're not in any particular order, so I will let you know like what star rating I gave them, and then kind of talk about why I was disappointed or why I didn't like them. First up is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is the graphic novel that the Netflix show is based off of. I binge watched the 1st and 2nd season of Sabrina, and then was feeling a little bit of withdrawal, so then I tracked down a digital copy of the graphic novel to read, and was in every way disappointed. My hopes were high. I had assumed that the graphic novel would bear some resemblance to the show, and while it's kind of, sort of, not really did, it was just not good. Cousin Ambrose, who is one of my favorite characters from the show, was a bit of an ass, and he did not treat Sabrina well. Sabrina herself was not great. Her parents' story is completely different in the graphic novel, and it's not nice. I don't like it. There was just nothing about this graphic novel that I liked. Every way that it differed from the show, I feel like the show did better. And yeah, there was nothing I could find that I liked about it at all. I think even if I hadn't watched the show and didn't come in with those kind of preconceived notions and those ideas, I still don't think I would have cared for it at all. So that was unfortunate. I was really kind of upset about it. And that's why I got the 1 star. Next, I've got a couple 2 stars. The first is Hidden Sea by Gregory Maguire. And Gregory Maguire does a lot of retellings and kind of takes old stories and twists them up. I came across Hidden Sea at the library, and like around the front it says, you know, it's a Nutcracker retelling basically, which got me excited because I love the music from the ballet. Don't necessarily like the ballet itself. I went and watched it being performed once and did not care for it, but I've liked some of the movies and stuff that they've made from it. Anyway, so I got this book thinking like, oh cool, Nutcracker retelling. Got it at the very beginning of the year when it's still cold out and like wintry, and I was like, woo. And it was bad. It was not about the Nutcracker. There's like a tiny little bit about the Nutcracker at the very end, and it all happens like off screen. It's The book is about Drosselmeyer, which is fine, except that I did not find his character relatable, interesting, likable in any way. And then there was like this whole setup at the beginning of the book, like setting up this story, that was completely abandoned. Like, they set this whole thing up and built the whole thing at the beginning, and then the author just never resolves any. He never even really brings it up ever again. So I don't know what the point of that was. And this is the 3rd Gregory Maguire book that I have picked up. I did Wicked and then Mirror Mirror. I DNF'd Wicked. I slogged through Mirror Mirror. It was painful. I liked it even less than Hidden Sea. And then I got Hidden Sea, and I didn't like that one either. So I'm not reading any more of his books, because I can't. I like the whole concept. He does these retellings. He picks interesting stories to retell. I don't like how he retells them. So I am officially quitting Gregory Maguire. Next, I've got Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. I wanted to like this book a lot. I saw a lot of really good reviews for it, like on YouTube and stuff, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's great, and it's like a whole series, and blah, blah, blah. It's wonderful. And I read it, and I don't see it. The whole, like, he's going to go search for his wife thing, I never felt that there was any sense of urgency about it. He doesn't act overly worried at any point that I can really tell. he's just, like, nonchalantly, like, making friends with dudes and whatever and doing this whole thing, and I don't feel like he's, like, really searching for her. And I didn't like it. I don't know. I won't continue on with it. Like, I give it 2 stars, and I just don't get it. I wanted to. I thought the covers for all of them were great, and they kind of drew me in. It was like, oh, this is kind of a cool thing, and then no. So, next we're going into 3-star territory. I've got The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. I read The Last House Guest earlier this year, like midway-ish through the year. Got it at work from the publisher, and read it and really liked it, and it kind of kicked off this kind of thriller streak that I've been on, so I've read several since then. And I decided to pick this one up because it's by the author of The Last House Guest, which I enjoyed. And, like, on the front it says, everyone in this town has a secret to hide or something. And I'm reading this book. No one's hiding anything. Literally, no one. No one. The twist and stuff was cool. But I'm just reading this book and I was like, I feel misled. And I don't care as much. I don't know. Like, there's this whole romance thing going on, which I was not super into. And I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it at all. And I did feel very misled by the whole everyone has a secret. So you kind of think like everyone's going to be a suspect type of thing or something. No. The only ones with secrets are the people who aren't actually from this town. Next up is Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. I've seen a lot of good reviews on this. People are like, oh yeah, it's so great. And it's the first book in a trilogy or a series or something. I did not find it all that great. As I was reading it, I'm just like, I'm still not like super into this book. I saw the little twist ending thing, whatever, the kind of the reveal at the end. Yeah, I saw that one come in, which is disappointing. And yeah, I don't know if it was if the author intended for people to maybe pick up on it, but I definitely did. I didn't feel invested in the characters. I didn't feel invested in their plight because, they're shunned or whatever. I didn't care. I didn't care. So won't be continuing with that series, unfortunately. Next, Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. I picked this up because it was like Vikings meet the Inuit and clash of cultures and la la la. And I was kind of let down by it. The end was kind of cool where it went. I did not really appreciate that it kind of started as like maybe the character is transgender. Maybe we're going to explore gender roles in this society or, something kind of interesting. And instead it was just like, nope, she's just special and she still believes that women have their place and that men have their place and their roles. Like, they're still very separate except that she's just special and gets to like walk both worlds. Not cool. Yeah, there was the like romance side of it, which was kind of whatever. It was really kind of convenient how that happened. And yeah, I just no. I wasn't into it. I wanted to like it more. It had a really cool cover. Like I said, I'm always trying to find a good Viking book. This was not one of them. I was definitely let down by it. But oh well. Moving on. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I did a whole review on this. It was the last video I did actually before I kind of took my break from YouTube. And looking back, I was much more generous with it back then. Now that I've had 2 or 3 months to kind of sit on it and kind of think and reflect on it, I like it a lot less than I did at the time of filming that video. What's stuck with me are the things that were kind of bothering me already. Gideon's character overall, I'm just left with this kind of irritation at how she acts and her lack of growth, I feel like. I've seen people talk about like the kind of the romance that I didn't pick up super strongly on being a thing. I hated the ending. I don't like when books end that way. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so I'm not gonna like explicitly say, but I don't like how it ended at all. And the first half of the book was really slow. This book suffered definitely, like I said in that video, from all the marketing hype, which is not the author's fault, really. I mean, that's the publisher who's doing all that. But they definitely did not market it accurately, because it's like, lesbian necromancers in space. That creates certain expectations, and I don't think the book's not about that. I mean, one of the characters is a necromancer. They both, I guess, happen to be lesbian, but not really, like, together. And they're not out in space. They are, the whole time, they are on a planet. So, I don't know, I feel like the marketing on it was kind of misleading and kind of over the top, too. Which is why I didn't go into it with sky-high expectations. Because I figured, like, when people are pushing a book that hard, or pushing anything that hard, I'm distrustful of its quality. Because to me, like, if it was such a high quality, let the quality speak for itself, and you shouldn't have to push so hard. So I'm just naturally distrustful of those kinds of things anyway. So I think I probably said before that it was still like a 4-star book. I've dropped that down to a 3. I probably won't pick up the next one. I just am over it. Next 3-star, Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey, I believe. Beautiful cover. Interesting kind of concept and idea there. I was bored. I figured out, like, the whatever, because it's like a murder mystery sort of thing almost. Figured that out, like, super early. Figured out that whole thing, which was just like, yeah, now I'm even more bored because I know where this is going. And yeah, it was very disappointing. It was a very mediocre blah, which I was fine with. I mean, I didn't have sky-high hopes. I had seen some, like, reviews and stuff where people weren't super happy with it and didn't think it was super great. So it wasn't like I had these high hopes and I was just, like, left to crash and burn. It was just a very blah kind of book, and it could have been a lot better. Next 3-star, Black Tides of Heaven by, I cannot remember the author's name. This is like a novella series, and you have twins, and there's magic, and they have an interesting way in this world of dealing with gender. You get to choose at a certain age or whatever. All that's very interesting. I just never felt connected to the characters and felt connected to the conflict going on. Their mother is supposed to be this big, bad figure, politician, ruler person, and I didn't like how the confrontation was handled, and just found the whole thing very confusing, and I didn't care for it. I never got sucked into it. I read this kind of hoping that it would be really cool, because I like stories not based in Western European mythology and culture and things, but for me it was just a letdown, and I won't pick up any of the other ones. It was just a very kind of 3-star, middle-of-the-road, blah kind of book. Next, Grace Keepers by Kirsty Logan? Something like that. Very interesting concept. You have a circus on the water, and there's a bear, and there are selkies, and whatever. And it was just very boring. If I had to describe it, I'd say it's just very pastel. And that kind of goes with the cover, because the cover was kind of very pastel. I wanted more, and I didn't get it, and I was hoping for more circusy type vibes, and never got it. And overall disappointed. I probably won't read any other books by this author. Bummer. Ooh, Long Way to Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. A lot of people love this book and love this series, and I mean a lot of people. I did not. This is one that I probably considered DNFing, but I didn't, thinking that maybe something was going to happen. That was my main complaint, was that nothing happened. There was no real conflict going on as such. There was no, like, build-up. It was just like, la 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 la, and you're just following this crew and whatever. I guess it's just a very character-driven story. But I still expect character-driven stories to be interesting. And I didn't find this to be interesting. And for that reason, I won't pick up any of the other books. A lot of people love it. That's great. I don't. Next is Gods of Jade and Shadow by... Can't remember the author's name on this one either. Not a good sign. For this one, it should have been more interesting than it was. You have the god of death, and he's trying to regain his throne, and blah, 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 and it's all great. And it's Mayan or Latin American mythology, anyway. And it had, like, the pieces, but the story never came together for me. It felt a little YA in that it was kind of more shallow in the storytelling. I don't know how else really to put it. It's the feeling I get when I read some YA books, like, where, you know, this could be a really cool story if there was more. If it delved into it more. But this story really didn't. It was going off the whole kind of fairy tale feeling, which I get, but the main character just seemed kind of along for the ride. She was just stuck going with this death god and going along, and she didn't really make a lot of choices of her own. She didn't have any control over her fate because she's tied to this guy, and the more pieces of himself that he gets back, the less human he is, and it's like a whole thing. I was happy with the ending because it didn't go the way I was kind of afraid it was going to go, so I was happier with the ending. But overall, the book it just kind of fell flat for me, and I wasn't crazy about it, which was super unfortunate because I was kind of excited to read it. Another popular book that I didn't care for was The Bear and the Nightingale by somebody. This is another, like, hyped book. A lot of people really like this book, and they talk about the atmosphere and how great the story is, and I was bored. Yeah, I mean, it's like got this kind of wintry forest type atmosphere to it, but nothing happens. Like, it's a whole book, nothing is happening. It's just like she's growing up, and everyone's reluctant to address the problems that are, you know, kind of looming. And it was, yeah, I didn't like it at all. You have a lot of kind of religious zealotry going on, which I'm not a huge fan of anyway, because it's very real life, and I don't like that in real life, let alone in books. So, yeah, I just felt like this book was really mediocre. I don't get it. I don't understand everyone's love for it. I feel like there are other books out there that have that kind of winter atmosphere and this, yeah, cold feeling to them, that the story's better. So, this was just one that I didn't get, I guess. Next is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. This was a big letdown because I had read the Wayward Children series before this, and then I loved that, and then people were like, this is so great, this is like my favorite book of the year, and la 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 la, and it's wonderful. And I read it, and I was like, I should like it. I mean, it's got this kind of timey-wimey weirdness to it. It's got this alchemy stuff going on. That should be really cool and interesting, and I should be drawn into that. The biggest thing for me was the villain, the antagonist, Mr. Reed. I don't know why people were so afraid of him and why he's supposed to be this menacing figure that everyone's, like, terrified of. He doesn't do anything the whole time. There at no point I'm like, oh yeah, this is why everyone's scared of him and freaked out by him. There was a scary, like, a secondary antagonist that's his little minion person. She's terrifying. She's deadly and lethal, and yeah, I could see being afraid of her. But, like, this guy just doesn't do anything. He just looms back here, pretending to be scary. So, that's probably what really kind of just sunk it for me. I also am not a huge fan of, I didn't feel like I connected with the characters and cared about them as characters, I guess. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Next up is The Prophecy Con and the Paladin Caper by Patrick Weeks. I gave Prophecy Con 4 stars and Paladin Caper 3. The first book was amazing, The Palace Job. It's this heist. It's this very, like, personal sort of revenge story. centering around Locke, and then there's like this ensemble cast, her Ocean's 11 type cast, you know, and they're doing stuff and they're stealing stuff and it's cool. Then the second and the third book go more towards a broader purpose. So whereas the first book was very like centralized, this is a revenge story about Locke, for Locke. Now it's like we're gonna like, it's about saving the world. And for whatever reason, that just did not work for me at all. I think because everything else was kind of treated the same, so you still have the same group of characters. You still have their kind of snarkiness and their relationships going on and whatever, but now it's like, we gotta save the world. And I guess the stakes were too high, maybe, or too broad, that I just didn't care anymore. Like, it's no longer a personal stake here. It's now this, like, kind of abstract thing. And I don't care as much. And then that was even worse in the third book. So I pretend that the Palace Job is a standalone and just try to forget that the other two exist, which is a bummer. So that's all of my kind of disappointing, mediocre reads of the year. Hopefully I didn't hurt anybody's feelings, but hey, we're all grown-ups, so tough shit, I guess. I will be doing a 2019 DNFs video shortly, and I hope to see you all for that. Thanks for sticking around, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!